everybody, it's Sharon here. Welcome back to my channel for those who are returning, and welcome to any new subscribers that may be visiting for the first time. So I'm working on my design team project for Junk with Steph, and I've decided I would like to work on the cover. I have shown you the cover in previous videos, so this is what I'm working with, and I just love this cover. I am so excited about it. So different to what I'm used to doing, but I really love it. Now I have this piece of lace cut out, and I really love that at a slight angle, and I've been trying to work out what I would like to do over the top. So what I've decided is I want to use this image as my focal point for the front, but I wanted to glorify it a little bit. I wanted to give it a little bit of pizzazz. So what I've done is I've created a little frame that I'm going to use over the top of it, and I've just used it's a piece of backing board from a sketchbook, so I will show you. So I have this visual art diary from Kmart, and I've used the piece of cardboard from the back to create this little frame. Okay, so that is how I did my frame. Now I've actually created a second one. I decided I would use this as a template, and I would pop that in my ideas book for future reference. So now that I have this, what I've decided to do, I really love the spine. I love the textured look of the spine with the paint and the wax paste. So I've decided I want to mirror that onto my frame here. So I've got some calico here. I've just cut off a strip. This has been washed, this calico, and it's very wrinkly, and I found it's really hard to get the wrinkles out of calico once you wash it. So I'm just going to take away that factory edge, just because it's a little bit bulkier to work with. Up, and my fray goes all the way up and back again, which I forgot. Okay, setting that to the side. Now I want a piece of calico that's a little bit bigger than my frame. So I'm hoping I'm in camera there. Sorry, I've got a second piece of baking paper down again, because that way I can lift this off and set it aside to dry once I'm finished. Just makes it a little bit slippery on my workspace. Okay, and I'm just checking. I don't think I need it this wide, so I want to wrap it around, but not too far that I double up, I'm thinking. So if I wrap this, okay, so I'm going to cut it about there. Very exact and precise, as you can see. Pop that scrap aside. Okay, now where am I at? Thinking I may have to cut this down a fraction, but not a whole lot, I'm thinking. So maybe half of that. I'm hoping this will tear okay. Oh, good job. Okay. I hope you're all fabulous. Sorry, I haven't even said hello properly. I went to start this yesterday. I had everything prepped and ready to go, and hubby came home a little bit early, and I didn't get back to it. So it's been on the back burner. It's been in my mind. I need to get it out of my mind. Okay. So you can see my pencil marks. What I will do is I will tell you what I did. So to create this frame, I took, wherever I put it, I took my image from Junk with Steph. So this is from the Floral Study Card Kit from Junk with Steph. And I've placed this over the top of my frame. Okay, so let me take a step back. So I took my image from JunkWithSteph and I measured the width and the height, and I've added, I think I added an inch to the measurement. So if I were to put this against here, so it's not quite 3.5, and I've cut just short of 4.5. So roughly an inch I've added. I did trim a little bit off because my cutting was a bit skew-if. So I've taken the measurement of the item that I've had and I've added an inch, which gives me roughly 1/2 inch on either side, both horizontally and vertically. From there, I ended up with a square piece of cardboard similar to this. This is the piece that's come out of the center, but a square piece of cardboard. And then obviously this size. And then I've taken my image and I sat it in the center. So because I'm a little bit pedantic, I did actually use my ruler to measure this way and this way to make sure I was centered, and partly because I wanted to make a template as well, so hence why I didn't do it on camera. And then I literally traced around my image and I took that away, and then I have come in 1/4 inch all the way around, and I made 3 marks on each side, so just with my pencil. So I've just measured, put a dot, came down a little bit, measured, put a dot, came down a little bit, measured, put a dot, and then I've joined those dots together and drawn lines all the way around, and that's what I've cut out, that inside rectangle. I was going to say square. I've cut out that inside rectangle to create the frame, so you can see that fits in there, and it probably goes that way. So that was how I did that. And then once I had that frame created and I popped it over my image to make sure I was happy with the frame that I've made, I have traced around that onto another piece of cardboard to get my second frame. So okay, I'm kind of taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back, sorry about that. So that's how I made my frame to start with. And I want to glue this fabric on here, so I'm thinking I might use my white fabric glue. It is from the brand Glue. I got it from Spotlight. More of a wet glue than the clear glue, the clear fabric glue from Helmars that I usually use. And I do like this sometimes over the other. So I'm just going to pop this all the way around. You can see it's quite liquidy. And I think I'm just going to use my finger to spread that out. Trying to stay in camera, sorry guys. You could use a brush for this, but I just realized that I didn't get myself fresh water to rinse my brush out, so I'm hoping I can get away with doing it this way. It's really, really cold here today too, like freezing. It's snowing in some places, not here, but some areas in our region. So it is so cold outside right now. I'm getting to the end of this bottle, as you can see, so and I'm not actually sure I have a spare, which is rather unfortunate. I didn't think about that until just now. Okay, so that's just starting to go tacky. I've got the back of my fabric facing me, and I'm going to pop this onto my frame trying to center it as best I can. And I do want to pull the fabric reasonably taut. And I don't think we did too badly. So this is going to add a little bit of texture and also a little bit of stability to our frame. I did consider doing a double thickness, but I decided that I didn't want that much bulk, so that's why I'm just doing a single frame. And I'm going to paint this up, so the paint will add some stability also. Okay, so I'm going to just snipping off my corners, and I'm not taking it all the way to the corner. I am leaving a little bit of playroom, similarly to how you would do the cover of your journal when you're pulling your fabric onto the inside. Okay. And I think for this side I might use, I'm just wondering how much I don't think I'm going to get much out of that. Okay, I do have a new one. Hooray for being organized, too new. Okay, so I just need to snip off the top. Oh, and I bet you it has a seal on it. Oh no, it doesn't. I'm just... I might just give it a little bit of a... It just felt really, really runny on top. Okay. I'm wondering if I want to do the center first. I feel like I might, and I'm trying to decide how I want to do that. What I'm thinking is I might see if I can use my Stanley knife. I don't really want to... how to do this. I thought about cutting across in the center, but I don't really want to waste that little piece in the center if I can get away with it. So I don't know whether this will work or if it will shred my fabric, but I'll give it a try, and that way I can save that. It's all about not wasting things, isn't it? So just, that actually worked better than I thought it would. So I've probably gone roughly 1/4 to 1/2 inch in, all the way around. Okay, and because I've done it that way, I've managed to save a really good sized rectangle of fabric, which I'm happy about. Okay, so that will go in my scrap bin. Just trying to remember where I put my other scraps. And then from there I'm going to cut into my corner. all the way around. Okay. Touch wood, that went smoother than I thought it might. You just never know some days. Sometimes I turn the camera on and all sorts of catastrophes occur. I will check. Oh, that's actually a really good size. Okay, let's do this. I don't know why the glue isn't coming out. I'm wondering if there's a blockage in the lid. It's probably got a plug in there that I don't know about. No, there's a blockage. Okay. So the fabric went well, but the glue is causing an issue. Oh, here we go. Goodness me, there's a really big lump of glue that's dried in the lid. Okay, getting there. Patience is a virtue, that's what I'm telling myself. I have no paper towel out. Can you see the lump in there? It's quite large. Look at that. No wonder I wasn't getting any glue out. My little straightened out paper clip, you never know what it's going to come in handy for. Okay, so just cleaning that off. Now we should be good to go. Put that in the bin. And I will get myself a piece of paper towel in case I need it. Okay. Now it'll probably run out everywhere. Whoop, here we go. And I'm going to be really brave and I'm going to go all the way around. Okay, and work that onto my card. It's not craft time if you don't get messy, isn't that right? First place I head to after I finish in here is to the bathroom to wash my hands every time without fail. Okay. Probably a little more than I needed, but see if we can shift a little of that up here. Okay. And I'm going to bring my insides across first, I think. Now, because this card is only one layer, it is very thin to be working with. So try not to fold it as such when I pull my fabric through. probably could have cut that side a little bit thinner. Too late now, she cried. That's what I get for only testing one edge. Oops. And then this side. And again, just buckling slightly, but I figured by the time I added the fabric and then I painted, and I will probably do 2 coats of paint and then a lacquer, I felt like my frame would have the strength that it needed without doing the extra layers of cardboard. That's why I've decided to go with 1 layer. Now bringing up from the outside in on the edges. I'm really glad I had that paper towel waiting. So when I pull it, I'm trying to pull it reasonably taut without actually bending the cardboard. Just keeping in mind that that card can bend as well. So pulling from the center first. And I will probably go back in and put some more glue, particularly under the corners. Okay, so I just want to take off a little piece from there and oh my goodness, my light is playing up. Excuse me, I'm just going to turn it off. I'm hoping that's not too dark for you. I think it will be okay though. Just the last couple of days that light's been doing strange things. Strange things. Now I might use my other fabric glue, I think, to get into those, or maybe even this will do. This will give me the tip I need. To get into, so this is my art glitter glue, and I'm just going to use that, I think, to finish off any spots that aren't glued down properly. With the fine tip, it allows me to get into those little areas that haven't quite adhered well without all of the fluffing around. And again into this corner. And this one here. And then along this edge. So if I turn it over, that's not bad at all. Pretty happy with that. Now I am going to set this aside to dry before I paint it. Just cleaning up my corner tips here. trying not to go too close so that I expose the card. Okay. Need to pop the lid in my glue. Oops, got bits laying around everywhere. Okay, shaking that off into my bin and then sitting that there to dry. Now while that's drying, I'm going to take, oh, and I've just realised for this process I'm going to need water. Never mind, I'll have to rinse it out when I'm finished. Now I've decided I would like to try the collage medium. So it's the Tim Holtz Distress Collage Medium Crazing. And it says it's a crackle gel. So I'm hoping it's going to give me that really beautiful dries translucent with a subtle crackle craze matte finish. And that's exactly what I'm hoping for, a subtle crackle. So I want to paint. I've never used this before, so this is an experiment. Applied directly onto porous surfaces only. Well, I'm thinking paper is porous. Okay, let's give it a try. So I've chosen the Forget Me Not. I think I mentioned previously, but I'm not sure. I chose this image partly because it was delicate and subtle, which is kind of what I've been aiming for with this journal. And Forget Me Not is apparently a wildflower, so it fit into the theme. Now I probably have way too much there. I don't know how thick I have to apply this. My brush is shedding little pieces every now and then, which is a real nuisance. But I'll just have to work with it. Now I probably don't need to go to the edges because obviously the frame is going to cover part of it. I was hoping this would give it a really pretty aged look. I have no idea if this will work, guys. Oops. And I don't actually know how many coats I will need to do, whether I'll need to do a second coat. I really am after just a subtle effect. I don't want like major cracks, or I think I'll leave it like that and we will see how that goes. So I'm going to leave those to dry and rinse my brush out. I have this water here that I was using for something else. It's just water. I think it was what I was using on my tissue paper actually. Use that to rinse out my brush. I'm going to leave those to dry. I'm going to have a little break and then hopefully I can come back and we can see what the effect is and we can paint our frame. I would really like the frame to dry before I do anything more with it. So, okay, back again. I've had a little break and I have noticed I have got a little bit of, let's see if I can bring it closer for you. I've got a little bit of crackling on my paper. Not quite as much as I hoped. I'm not sure if you can see that in camera or not. So I'm actually thinking about adding a second coat of that crazing to the surface. So I'd like to do that first, and I'm thinking I might add it in a more circular motion this time rather than, I sort of went up and down when applying it last time. So I'm just going to take my brush now. I may be double handling when I don't need to, I don't know, but it's all about experimenting, and I wouldn't mind the extra coat over it because it's on the cover. So I'm just going to apply it with the circular motion rather than the way I did the coverage last time, and see how it comes out. Possibly not necessary, but I'm kind of just playing. Okay, I do think I like that circular motion rather than the straight up and down that I did before. So again, I'm just going to leave that to dry. Just washing out my brush, sorry. And I think I will apply my first coat of paint to my frame. That way they can both be drying at the same time. Now again, I don't know that I will video the whole process of doing the painting for the frame. I will swap these over. When I had the paper drying earlier, I did come in and I sat two of these on, one on this corner and one on this corner. The piece of paper was kind of buckling up a little bit, so I may have to do that again. Just cleaning off my area a little bit. That will do. So this is my frame as it is, and I have here my chalk paint and my brush. I'll just move that out of the way. Again, my brush has just been wrapped in the Glad wrap since I did my cover. So I'm expecting a few flaky bits here and there, but hopefully it won't be too bad. And just applying my chalk paint all over this frame. And as you see, I'm not going for a super thick cover. I just want to, it's basically to coat the fabric and to kind of set it, is what I'm thinking. I want to be able to see the texture of the fabric, the same as I did with the spine. And being the first coat, I expect the fabric to soak it in a little bit. Trying to make sure I get my edges I must say, I love it already. Sometimes you just try things and they send you to your happy place, and this will be one of those occasions, I think. A little something under there. Okay, so setting that aside as well. Going to leave that there to dry. Oops. Just going to wrap up my brush. Oh, all the chalky bits. I probably need a new piece of wrap for that. You can see that, can you see? Yes, you can see that my piece of paper is starting to curl already. Sorry, my arm was in the way just then. My sleeve was falling down. I don't do very well with sleeves down my arms when I'm crafting. It's starting to curl, so I may again have to just pop something heavy on those two corners to hold it down while it's drying, I think. And because I know I'm sitting this under my frame, I'm okay with popping something just in these two corners like that. Okay, so going to leave those to dry. I'm noticing more patterned marks in my crazing, which I'm really preferring rather than the way I did my brush strokes up and down in the first coat. So I'm really pleased I've gone over that just for that reason. So it's all about trial and error and, you know, seeing what you like and what you don't like. So I'm going to leave those to dry. I'm thinking about moving them actually and having a play with some pockets. I'm not sure whether I'll turn the camera back on or not, but I'll see how I go. So I'll be back for the next step. I'll see you shortly. Coat 2. I really love the texture that I've created on the top of this piece. It's very subtle. So that is with 2 layers. I don't know if you can see it in camera or not. I'm hoping you can. Very subtle. Just gives it a slightly aged look. So I have a little plan with that. I'm not sure whether it will work, but we'll revisit that shortly. So for now, I'm going to pop this probably under something heavy to flatten it a little bit. And I'm going to do another coat of chalk paint on my frame. I have considered backing this with a piece of cardboard perhaps. I haven't decided yet. Maybe even one of these just to strengthen it a little bit, but I will see what it's like once it has been finished and decide then whether I need to add something to the back. So I have my paintbrush here and my chalk paint, and I've decided that I want to go in and just do these edges from underneath. I don't want to cover the whole of the back area, but I did want to make sure that these edges were covered on the inside really well. This has been left, or they have both been left to dry overnight. Because I want to make sure that they're well and truly dry before I apply the next coat. Okay, Okay, so happy with that. And I may go in and do another coat around that edge once this is dry. Okay, I'm going to have to shuffle a few things. I need to move it out of that wet paint, I think, so. And just applying a second coat all the way around to the frame itself, and I will try and make sure I get the edges as well. And I'm hoping I'm in camera there. Yes, I am. I was like, I seem very close to myself, but it's all good. I'm just angling my brush to make sure I get the edges. I'm not actually lifting it because I've come in from the back as well. So again, just angling my brush to get the edges all the way around. Oops. Love the way that's looking. Okay, so I'm going to leave that coat to dry, and then I will pop back and show you the next part of my process. Just covering these up. Okay, so I will be back shortly. See you soon. Hello, I'm back again. So I've left these to dry overnight. I've actually taken my image, which will be my focal point for my cover, and I have set it in a heavy book to press overnight because, as you see, it does still have a little bit of a curl. I really love the texture that the Distress Collage Medium Crazing has left on the image. Yes, I had to pick up the bottle to read it because I couldn't remember what it was called. As you may or may not remember, this is my first time using it. So I love that matte textured. It's textured without being rough in any way. So I really love the way that's turned out. I am considering whether I want to do more with it. I haven't decided yet, but I'm going to set that aside. And so we have 2 coats of chalk paint on our frame now, and I want to take my wax metallic, so Art Alchemy metallic wax in the aged brass is what I'm using, and that is what I've used on the cover as well. And I'm thinking I want to add this similarly to the way I did the spine on my cover. So just rubbing it on my finger, and I want to do all the way around the edge. And you will see that I haven't painted the back of it at all, just a little bit around the edges where I was trying to get the edges well covered. And part of the reason I haven't done the back is because I was worried if I did paint the back, it would affect how it adhered to my book cover. So I've left it raw. I'm not sure whether it would make a difference, but that was what I decided I would do. I do have a little excess fabric in that corner, and it was picking up that wax. So I'm just going all the way around the edges. I'm not aiming for a super heavy coating. I want to show a little bit of the texture through. I'll focus on the top in a moment. And I want to do the same with the inside of my frame. I guess kind of like you would do if you were distressing something. That's kind of what I'm doing, but I'm using the wax. And if you decide to try this process out yourself, you can decide how heavy you would like the wax to be on your edges. You might decide to cover the whole thing. I want it to have a little bit of a distressed or aged look. So I feel like having a little bit of that white chalk paint texture come through from the mix of the chalk paint and the fabric, it kind of adds to that distressed look. And so I don't want too much on my finger. I'm thinking I need to do this. Yes, that's what I want. I just felt like I had too much to start with. Oh, this is perfect. It's making me happy. So just smoothing my finger around the edges in case I have any excess. You can see here that I've got a little bit of excess on the top of my frame from when I've done the edges. I just want to make sure that that's blended in as much as possible. I feel like the chalk paint and this wax paste are a bit of a marriage made in heaven, actually. I'm so excited about this right now. And again, I've got a little bit of excess there, so just making sure it's smoothed out properly, no lumps and bumps. And a little bit more down there. So I'm just looking for any patchiness now in my coverage that I want to try and highlight. Oh, I love that. Okay, I need a baby wipe. Okay, I am just going to see if I can take a little of the excess off my paper. Oops. Now, before I seal that too, I just want to check. Oh my gosh, that's so fun. I'm trying to decide if I'd like to add a little bit of that wax paste to my image. Whoops, well, that'll do it. Whoopsie, I've got a little mark there. What I might do actually is I might just take my baby wipe. Now I have no idea how this is going to go, and I'm just going to start from my edges, because my edges are actually underneath my frame and they're not going to show so much. Too much. part of me is wondering if it's too brown, because I haven't used a lot of the warmer color tones in this journal, but I do kind of like the way it's picking up on that texture that's been created. So I'm going to go with it, and worst case scenario, if I'm not 100% happy with it, I can always print a new one and repaint it and then use this for something else. I do kind of like that. I've got a little bit too much up here and it's not removing as much as I would like it to. So I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like as I work it with the baby wipe, I'm getting more of a grey tone than a bronzy gold tone. I'm kind of liking that. Okay, so let me have a look at that on my cover. Before I bring my cover across, I am going to lift this piece up in case I have the bronze on it. And oh, I really like that. It's kind of given it a little bit of depth as well, which I'm really loving. It's given it an aged effect. That's really unexpected. I'm looking at it, no, I don't quite know what to think, because it's not, the color tones aren't necessarily what I was thinking, but I love that I can see the texture a bit more that the paste has created as well. I've got my little piece of lace inside here, which is going to hopefully go what I might do is use a couple of my little friends here. Just want to hold this in place. So this will go here. So I'm still getting the crispness of the vintage white cover. I don't know if I'm missing that pop that I was getting from the image before. So I may do another one and reapply the crazing to that. And perhaps compare the two, I think. I like that, but it's kind of got a more of a brown tinge than I was hoping for. I can't decide. I think it's something I have to walk away from and have a think about. I do love the effect, but I just don't know if I love the effect for this particular piece. Okay, so now that I've got that over my frame, which I really love, I need to seal it. So I have my lacquer here. So it's a woodwork lacquer. Hoping my brush is still okay. It's been sitting in the Glad wrap. I did actually bring these in from my wet area. It is freezing cold here at the moment, and I found that moving between the two areas, especially given the weather, it's not appealing, guys. It's I was kind of procrastinating about going out to do the painting I had to do, and I was like, oh, I think I'll just bring it in here for now. Not saying I'll do that all the time, but my brush has started to dry a little bit, and I perhaps should have rinsed it out, but we're just going to go with it. So I just gave that a little stir with my brush. It's got a little bit of the vintage photo in it from, as you know, if you haven't watched any of my previous videos, my chalk paint that I've used to coat my frame here has got a tiny bit of vintage photo in it, and it does tend to seep out a little bit into my lacquer, as they're both water-based. So that was my lesson learned from making my own chalk paint and using it on a project. Or sorry, making my own chalk paint and adding the lacquer, because obviously it doesn't come like that. So I'm just trying to run my brush along those edges, and I'm going to do the same on the outside. Now this will also help strengthen my frame by adding the lacquer. You could see a little bit, I don't know actually if it was the vintage photo or the wax paste that came off into the lacquer just then, but it does give it a lovely aged look, and it's the same paint and lacquer that I've used on my cover. So sort of tying the two in together. Okay, so leaving that to dry, I will do another coat on that once that has dried. I will do that off camera, but I just wanted to show you what my next step with, sorry, I'm making you seasick, everything's moving, what my next step with my frame was going to be. And in the meantime, I will consider whether I use this image as is or whether I make a new one and just add the crazing and have that as a plain white background, just to give it a little bit of a lift. I feel like I'm missing that lift that I was getting before, so I'll compare the two and decide which way I want to go. So that was all I wanted to show you. I just wanted to keep you up to speed with what I was working on, and I hope you're enjoying this. I'm loving watching this journal come together. I really am. So I just wanted to say, stay inspired, stay safe, and happy crafting. I look forward to seeing you all soon, everybody. Bye for now.